Cold CEO can't stand his secretary by day but doesn't know she's his lifeline every night. Bianca's fingers froze over her keyboard as her new boss's voice cut through the executive floor, that same clipped tone that had dismissed her ideas all week. But it couldn't be him. Her late-night gaming partner, the man who'd talked her through panic attacks at 3 a.m. with surprising gentleness, couldn't possibly be Callum Rhodes. The billionaire CEO who looked at her like she was invisible couldn't be Phoenix, the person who truly saw her. She sat at her new desk outside Callum's office, mind racing through impossible coincidences. Phoenix mentioned working in finance, living in the city, losing his father 2 years ago. The timeline matched perfectly, but it couldn't be true. Her boss treated her with barely concealed irritation, while Phoenix treated Nova like she mattered. 3 months earlier, Bianca had joined an exclusive insomnia support gaming group. Late-night sessions helped people cope with sleeplessness. She met Phoenix during a cooperative mission. His strategic brilliance matched her creative problem-solving. They became partners, then friends, then something deeper. Hours of conversation while waiting for sleep that never came. He knew about her MBA, her fears of invisibility in corporate spaces, her complicated grief over her mother's death. She knew about his suffocating responsibilities, his unprocessed loss, his bone-deep loneliness. Now, watching Callum Rhodes emerge from his office, she couldn't reconcile the two men. His warm brown eyes, the exact shade she'd imagined on Phoenix, barely glanced at her before dismissing her existence. "The Henderson report needs complete revision. Have it on my desk by 5. His tone suggested incompetence rather than newness. Nothing like Phoenix's warm encouragement last night when she'd vented about her impossible boss. Phoenix had made her laugh, reminded her of her worth, told her any company would be lucky to have her strategic mind. If only he knew she was complaining about him. Except he couldn't be Phoenix. The math didn't work. The personality didn't align. She was seeing connections where none existed, her exhausted brain creating patterns from coincidence. The first week proved brutal. Callum criticized everything. Her coffee was wrong. Her reports lacked depth. Her suggestions in meetings were impractical. She watched him command boardrooms with effortless authority, sophisticated and controlled and utterly untouchable. Nothing like the vulnerable man who confessed his deepest fears at 2 a.m. Her nights remained her sanctuary. Phoenix messaged during his insomnia hours. They played cooperative missions, and he was supportive, funny, protective. He asked about her new job. She vented about her impossible boss without naming him. Phoenix sympathized, made her laugh, reminded her she was brilliant. The contrast tortured her. Owen Rhodes, Callum's younger cousin and VP of operations, befriended Bianca during her second week. He was warm where Callum was cold, chatty where Callum was dismissive. "Don't take it personally," Owen said over coffee. "Cal's been like this since Uncle Richard died, married to the company, ice in his veins. I barely recognize him anymore." The description didn't match Phoenix, but the timeline of emotional shutdown did. Something had broken in Callum Rhodes 2 years ago, around the same time Phoenix started gaming to cope with insomnia. The coincidence nagged at her. She confided in her roommate Kate Roy that evening, a graphic designer who knew about her gaming life. "What if it is him?" Kate asked, eyes bright with possibility. "What if he's just different at work? Then he's a phenomenal actor. The man who looks through me can't be the man who truly sees me." But doubt crept in. Small details accumulated. The way Callum drummed his fingers when thinking. A gesture Phoenix once described. The scar above Callum's eyebrow that matched Phoenix's childhood treehouse story. The expensive watch Phoenix mentioned buying, identical to the one on Callum's wrist. Friday afternoon, exhaustion caught up with Bianca. She stayed late finishing revisions, the office emptying around her. She didn't notice Callum hadn't left until his office light caught her attention. Through the glass wall, she watched him, jacket discarded, tie loosened, head in his hands. The vulnerability in his posture struck her physical. For a moment, he looked exactly like she imagined Phoenix, overwhelmed, alone, achingly human. Then he straightened, saw her watching, and the mask snapped back. He emerged from his office. "You're still here. Finishing the revisions you requested." She kept her voice professional despite bone-deep exhaustion. Silence stretched. He moved to the coffee station, and she noticed shadows under his eyes, tension carved into his shoulders. The man was running on fumes. "Do you ever sleep?" The question escaped before she could stop it, his hand stilled on the coffee pot. "Rarely." Something in his voice, a crack in the facade, sounded devastatingly familiar. "Insomnia?" She shouldn't push, but she needed to know. "Something like that." He poured coffee with deliberate movements, not looking at her. "You should go home, Miss Laurent. The revisions can wait until Monday." The dismissal stung. She gathered her things, but as she passed his office, she saw him at his computer, not working, but gaming. The screen showed the login page for their platform. Her heart stopped. She turned back, hesitating at his door. "Mr. Rhodes?" He minimized the screen quickly, irritation flashing. "I thought you left." "I needed a file." The lie came easily. She stepped into his office, pulse racing. On his desk, partially hidden by folders, she spotted a gaming controller, the same expensive model Phoenix described buying last month. He followed her gaze, tension radiating. "Did you need something specific?" She should leave, walk away, pretend she hadn't seen. Instead, she moved closer to his desk, reaching for a random folder. He stood simultaneously to hand it to her, and they collided. His hands gripped her shoulders to steady her. The touch sent electricity through her entire body. They froze. His fingers were warm through her blouse, his scent, cedar and coffee, achingly familiar. This close, she saw gold flecks in his brown eyes, the faint scar above his eyebrow matching the story Phoenix told about falling from a treehouse at 8. Every detail matched. "Phoenix?" The whisper escaped before she could stop it. His entire body went rigid. His hands tightened on her shoulders before he released her abruptly, stepping back like she'd burned him. "I don't know what you're talking about." But his reaction confirmed everything. The careful distance, the cold professionalism. It was armor, protection. He recognized her too, maybe from the first day, and chose to pretend otherwise. "The scar," she continued, voice shaking. "You got it falling from a treehouse when you were 8. You told me, told Nova, 3 weeks ago." Color drained from his face. Raw panic flashed in his eyes before anger replaced it. "This conversation is inappropriate, Miss Laurent. I suggest you leave before you say something you'll regret." "You knew," understanding crashed over her. "From the beginning, you knew I was Nova." "I don't know anyone named Nova," but his voice lacked conviction. "Go home. We'll discuss your confusion on Monday if necessary." The rejection wounded deeper than any criticism. She fled, leaving him standing in his office looking wrecked. That night, Phoenix didn't log in. For the first time in 3 months, Nova waited alone in the digital space that had become home. The absence felt like abandonment. Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted completely was living a double life right in front of you? Tell me your story in the comments, let me know where you're watching from, and hit subscribe if this complicated connection is already pulling at your heart. The weekend stretched endlessly. Kate tried to help her process, but nothing made sense. Why would Callum recognize her and say nothing? Why maintain cold professional distance when they'd shared such intimacy online? Deshaun, her younger brother, visited Sunday afternoon. He introduced her to gaming years ago and immediately noticed her distress. "You look like you lost your best gaming partner," he joked, then realized he'd hit truth. She confessed everything. "So your boss is Phoenix?" Deshaun processed this. "And he's pretending he doesn't know you because what? He's embarrassed." "I don't know. Maybe he thinks I'm unprofessional for gaming instead of sleeping. Or maybe he's protecting you." Deshaun's insight surprised her. "Think about it. You're his secretary. If anyone found out you two have this connection, your career gets questioned, not his." The possibility hadn't occurred to her, but it didn't excuse his coldness, the way he looked through her like she didn't exist. Sunday night, Phoenix finally logged in. The message was simple. "I'm sorry. Can we talk?" Nova stared at the words. Here, she had power. Here, she could demand answers. "Why didn't you tell me?" The pause stretched long enough she thought he'd logged off. Then, "Because Nova deserves better than Callum Rhodes, and Bianca Laurent deserves a boss who doesn't complicate her career." "Don't I get a say in what I deserve?" Another pause. "Monday, my office. 7 in the morning before anyone arrives. We'll talk face to face. No more hiding." Monday morning, Bianca arrived at 6:45, nerves jangling. Callum was already there, looking like he hadn't slept all weekend. The conversation started awkwardly, two people who'd shared their deepest fears suddenly unable to find words. "I recognized your voice the first day," he admitted. "The way you organize thoughts, your specific phrasing. It was unmistakable. And you decided to treat me like an incompetent intern?" "I decided to maintain professional boundaries." His jaw tightened. "You worked hard for this position, Bianca. I won't let anyone question whether you earned it because of a personal connection. So you made me miserable instead. I made sure no one could accuse you of sleeping your way into this job." The words hung between them, ugly and honest. Her anger ignited. "How dare you make that choice for me? You don't get to decide what's best for my career. Someone had to think practically." "Practically? You made me doubt my competence, made me question whether I belonged here." She stepped toward him, fury overriding caution. "You don't get to play protector without asking if I need protecting." They were shouting now, all pretense shattered. She moved closer, he met her, and suddenly they stood nose to nose between his desk and couch, both breathing hard. The anger shifted. She became achingly aware of his nearness, the heat radiating from his body, the intensity in his eyes that had nothing to do with rage. His gaze dropped to her mouth. The air crackled. "This is exactly why," he said roughly, voice dropping to almost a whisper. Whatever this is between us, it's dangerous. Only if we let it be." She didn't back down, even though her heart hammered against her ribs. For a moment she thought he'd kiss her, wanted him to. But he stepped back deliberately, putting distance between them. "We have a meeting at 8. You should prepare." The dismissal stung, but she saw his hands trembling slightly as he turned away. He wasn't unaffected, just controlled. Always so desperately controlled. Wednesday afternoon brought unexpected danger. Bianca carried files to the boardroom when her heel caught on the executive staircase. She pitched forward, files flying, and strong. Hands caught her. Callum appeared from nowhere, one arm around her waist, the other gripping her shoulder. He pulled her back against his chest, stabilizing her. They froze. His breath warmed her neck. His arm around her waist felt possessive, protective, exactly like Phoenix's embrace felt in her imagination. His fingers on her shoulder flexed slightly, as if he couldn't help pulling her closer. "Careful," he murmured against her hair, voice rough with more than concern. She was pressed fully against him, feeling the solid strength of his body, the rapid beat of his heart against her back. His thumb stroked her ribcage through her blouse, once, twice, an unconscious gesture of comfort that felt devastatingly intimate. "I'm okay," she managed, but didn't pull away. Couldn't. His arm tightened fractionally before he released her with visible effort. He stepped back and she immediately missed his warmth. When she turned to thank him, his expression was carefully blank, but his eyes burned with barely restrained want. "You should wear more sensible shoes, Miss Laurent." The formal address jarred after the intimacy. She watched him walk away, leaving her surrounded by scattered files and a body humming with awareness. That night, Phoenix messaged, "Are you okay? I heard about the stairs." "How did you hear?" she typed back. "I was there, caught you, remember? Or do we pretend that didn't happen too?" The acknowledgement, the dropping of pretense, even just online, felt like progress. "Thank you for catching me. Always, in-game or out, I've got you, Nova." The promise settled something in her chest. Maybe they could navigate this impossible situation. Thursday brought devastation. A major deal fell through, and the board blamed Callum's leadership. Bianca watched him endure 2 hours of criticism with stoic professionalism, never defending himself, accepting responsibility that wasn't entirely his. After the meeting, the executive floor emptied quickly. Bianca should leave too, but something kept her at her desk. She heard the crash from Callum's office, something thrown against a wall, then silence. She found him standing at his windows, tie discarded, shirt partially unbuttoned, staring at the city below. His shoulders carried defeat she'd never seen. "You should have left an hour ago," he said without turning. "So should you." "I'm not good company right now, Bianca." The use of her first name, a first at work, told her how close to breaking he was. She approached slowly, stopping beside him at the windows. The deal wasn't your fault, she said quietly. My company, my responsibility. My father built this in 30 years. I'm destroying it in 2. That's not true. You're brilliant at this, Callum. One setback doesn't erase everything you've accomplished. He finally looked at her, and the raw vulnerability in his eyes stole her breath. This was Phoenix, unguarded, wounded, achingly human. How do you do that? Do what? Make me believe it. Nova does the same thing. Makes me think I'm not completely failing. He reached up as if to touch her face, then caught himself. His hand dropped. I shouldn't confuse the two of you. What if you're not confused? She took the risk, stepping closer. What if we're the same person, Callum? What if you can have both? Hope flashed in his eyes before he shook his head. Not without destroying your career. I won't do that to you. What about what you're doing to yourself? To us? The elevator dinged, Chastity's voice in the distance. They sprang apart, the spell broken. But as Bianca gathered her things, she felt his gaze following her, hungry and conflicted. That night, Phoenix logged in. Thank you for staying, for seeing me. You're the only one who does. I always see you, she typed back. All of you. Friday night, a cybersecurity breach threatened Rhodes Global Ventures. Callum called an emergency meeting, just him, Bianca, and the IT team working remotely. They'd need to work through the night. By midnight, it was just them in his office. His penthouse was 20 floors above. He suggested moving there for comfort. Bianca's professional instincts screamed warning, but exhaustion and necessity won. His penthouse was stunning and impersonal, expensive furniture, no personal touches, except the gaming setup in the corner. Top equipment, the same setup Phoenix described in detail. Bianca ran her fingers over the controller, and Callum watched from across the room. I spend most nights there, he admitted quietly. Gaming keeps the insomnia at bay, and Nova keeps the loneliness away. The confession cracked something open. They worked side by side on his couch, shoulders occasionally brushing. The proximity felt different here, more intimate, more honest. This was his private space, and he'd let her in. Around 2 a.m, he ordered food. They took a break, and conversation flowed easier than ever. He talked about inheriting the company at 34, unprepared, and grieving. She shared her fears of being underestimated, of fighting for respect in spaces that didn't expect excellence from women who looked like her. I've never underestimated you, he said seriously. If anything, your competence terrifies me. You're brilliant, Bianca. That's why I had to maintain distance, because I knew if I let myself acknowledge it fully, I'd want more than I have any right to ask for. What if I want to give it? The question shifted everything. He set down his coffee, turned to face her fully. You have no idea what you're offering. I'm not good at this. Relationships, vulnerability, anything that isn't work, I'll disappoint you. You haven't disappointed Nova yet. Nova doesn't have to see me fail every day. She gets the best version of me, the one who exists at 3 a.m. when I'm too tired to maintain walls. Maybe that's the version I want. She slid closer. Maybe I'm tired of walls, too. The air thickened. Callum's gaze dropped to her mouth, and this time he didn't look away. If we do this, if we cross this line, there's no going back. Everything changes. Maybe everything needs to change. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a curl behind her ear. The gesture was achingly familiar. Phoenix once described doing exactly this. I've wanted to do that since the first day. You have the most beautiful hair. I wanted to see it down, to run my fingers through it, to feel if it was as soft as it looked. His hand lingered, fingers sliding into her hair. She leaned into the touch, and the small surrender broke his control. Phoenix? She whispered, needing final confirmation. Instead of answering, he closed the distance and kissed her. The kiss was searching, desperate, 3 months of restrained longing igniting instantly. His hand tightened in her hair while the other cupped her face with surprising gentleness. She gripped his shoulders, pulling him closer, and he responded by deepening the kiss, his tongue sliding against hers in a rhythm that made her dizzy. They broke apart, breathing hard. Nova, he murmured against her lips, confirming everything. I've imagined this so many times. You, here, real. I'm real, she promised, kissing him again, and I'm not going anywhere. The kiss turned urgent. His hands slid down her sides, learning her curves, while hers worked the buttons of his shirt, desperate to feel skin. When her fingers touched his bare chest, he groaned into her mouth, the sound vibrating through both of them. He pulled her onto his lap and she straddled him, feeling his desire pressed between them. His hands slid under her blouse, warm palms against her back, and she arched into him. Every touch felt both new and familiar, the intimacy they'd built online translating into physical connection. "Tell me to stop," he murmured between kisses down her neck. "Tell me this is too fast and I'll stop." "Don't stop." She tilted her head, giving him access, and gasped when his teeth grazed her pulse point. "Don't you dare stop." His fingers found the zipper of her skirt. She rose slightly to help him slide it down. Her blouse followed, then his shirt, until they pressed together with far less between them. His hands worshipped her body, mapping every curve, every sensitive spot, while his mouth followed, tasting skin, drawing sounds from her she didn't know she could make. She reached for his belt, and he helped her, both frantic now. When she wrapped her hand around him, his head fell back. "Bianca. God, Bianca." The sound of her name in that wrecked voice sent heat pooling low. She stroked him, learning what made him gasp, what made his fingers dig into her hips. He captured her mouth again, kissing her deeply while his hand slid between her thighs, finding her ready. The intimate touch made her cry out. He worked her expertly, fingers creating pressure and friction exactly where she needed it, whispering praise against her lips. "So perfect, so responsive. I've dreamed of this, of you coming apart in my arms." She was close, so close, her body tightening around his fingers. Just as she reached the edge, his phone rang, shrill and insistent. They froze, breathing hard, the spell partially broken. "Ignore it," she pleaded, but the ring continued. His emergency line. He dropped his forehead against hers, frustration evident. "I have to take this." The moment shattered. They dressed hurriedly, intimacy replaced by awkward professionalism. The call was about the breach. The IT team needed immediate input. Crisis management dragged them back to work, the passionate moment left incomplete and trembling between them. By dawn, the breach was contained, but the tension remained. They'd crossed a line, acknowledged their dual identities, tasted what could be. But nothing was resolved. As Bianca left his penthouse, Callum caught her hand. "This isn't over," he promised. "Nova, Bianca, whatever name you go by, this isn't over." She squeezed his hand, hope and confusion warring. "I don't want it to be." But as she rode the elevator down, reality crashed back. He was still her boss. She was still his secretary, and they'd just made everything infinitely more complicated. Chapter 2. The following Monday, neither knew how to act. They arrived separately, maintained careful distance, spoke only about work. But everything had changed. Every accidental touch sent electricity through them both. Every glance across the office carried unbearable weight. Chastity Greenwood noticed immediately. The executive assistant had worked for Rhodes Global since before Callum was born. She knew his father, watched Callum grow up. Nothing escaped her notice. She cornered Bianca in the break room. "Whatever happened between you and Mr. Rhodes," Chastity said carefully, "be careful. The board is looking for any excuse to question his leadership. Don't give them ammunition." "Nothing happened," Bianca lied. Chastity's knowing look suggested she didn't believe it. "I've known that boy his whole life. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Just be careful, for both your sakes." The warning should concern Bianca. Instead, it thrilled her. He looked at her a certain way. Others noticed. It wasn't just in her imagination. That night, Phoenix logged in. "I can't stop thinking about Friday night, about you, about us." "Neither can I," Nova admitted. "But I don't know how we navigate this. Boss and secretary, Phoenix and Nova, where do we even start?" "Maybe we start by being honest. No more hiding. When I look at you at work, I'm not just seeing my secretary. I'm seeing the woman who knows my deepest fears, the person I trust most. I can't compartmentalize anymore." "So what do we do?" A long pause. Then, "Have dinner with me. Not as boss and employee, not as Phoenix and Nova, as Callum and Bianca. Two people trying to figure out if this crazy thing between them can work in the real world." "Where?" "My penthouse tomorrow night. I'll cook." She agreed and spent all Tuesday distracted. Kate helped her pick an outfit, something between professional and date-worthy. Deshawn texted encouragement. Callum opened his penthouse door in jeans and a casual button-down, the most relaxed she'd ever seen him. He'd made Italian, homemade pasta carbonara, Caesar salad, wine breathing on the counter. Phoenix mentioned he learned to cook from his father, she said, accepting a wine glass. My dad taught me when I was 12, right after my mom left. He said it matter-of-factly, but she heard the old wound. Cooking was his way of showing love when words were hard. I do the same, cook for people I care about. Is that what this is? Caring about me? He met her eyes directly. I'm falling in love with you, Bianca. I've been falling since the first night we played together online, and meeting you in person only made it worse, or better. I can't tell anymore. The confession stole her breath. She set down her wine glass carefully. This is real? Not just late-night vulnerability or proximity It's real. He moved closer, cupping her face gently. You're the first person in 2 years who's made me want something beyond work, who's made me feel something beyond numb. That terrifies me, but I don't want to run from it anymore. She kissed him, slow and deep, tasting wine and promise. Unlike Friday's desperate urgency, this kiss was deliberate, exploratory. They had time now, privacy, no interruptions looming. They ate dinner at his kitchen island, talking easily. She learned about his childhood, his complicated relationship with his mother, who chose her career over her family. He learned about her father, who raised her and Deshawn alone after their mother died of cancer. They shared wounds and dreams, conversation flowing as naturally as it did online. After dinner, he showed her the gaming setup properly. This is where Phoenix lives, he said wryly, where I can be just a guy playing games, not a CEO carrying impossible expectations. What if you could be both? What if you didn't have to separate those parts of yourself? I don't know how to do that. Maybe I can help you learn. Wednesday brought complications. Carolina Mueller, the board member who'd been pursuing Callum for months, cornered him at lunch. Bianca watched from her desk as Carolina touched his arm, laughed too loudly, leaned close to whisper in his ear. Jealousy hit Bianca like a physical blow, irrational, possessive jealousy she had no right to feel. He wasn't officially hers. Their relationship existed in private, stolen moments in online conversations. Carolina could pursue him publicly, while Bianca must pretend indifference. When Callum finally returned to his office, he found Bianca tense and withdrawn. What's wrong? Nothing. Carolina seems nice. The words came out sharper than intended. Understanding dawned in his eyes, followed by something that looked like satisfaction. He crossed to her desk, leaned down so only she could hear. Are you jealous, Miss Laurent? No. Yes, absolutely. Good. The word was rough with approval. Because I like knowing you care. Carolina means nothing to me. She never has, but you... His hand covered hers on the desk briefly, a touch hidden from casual observers but loaded with meaning. You're the only woman I think about, the only one I want. The possessive declaration sent heat through her. Before she could respond, Owen appeared and they sprang apart, but the moment lingered all afternoon. That night, Phoenix's message was playful. Someone was jealous today. I could practically feel it radiating across the office. Maybe a little, Nova admitted. I liked it. Liked knowing you want me enough to hate seeing someone else try. But you never have to worry, Nova. You're it for me. Only you. Thursday morning, Bianca delivered Callum's coffee. As he took it, his fingers drummed on his desk in a specific rhythm. 3 taps, pause, 2 taps. She froze. What? He asked, noticing her reaction. That pattern. Phoenix does that before difficult missions. You described it once, said it's a habit from childhood, a way to center yourself. He stared at his hand like he'd never seen it before. I didn't realize I did it here too. The unconscious bleed-through between his identities struck them both. He wasn't successfully compartmentalizing. Phoenix and Callum were merging whether he intended it or not. Come here, he said quietly. She shouldn't. They were at work. His office had glass walls, anyone could see. But she moved around his desk anyway. He turned his chair, reached for her hand, and placed it over his on the desk. Together, they tapped the pattern. 3 taps, pause, 2 taps. This is me, he said simply. Phoenix and Callum, not separate. You're right. I can't divide myself anymore. Not with you. The moment was more intimate than any kiss. He was letting her fully in, showing her the merged truth of who he was. His thumb stroked her wrist, finding her pulse point, and they stayed like that until Chastity's approach forced them apart. But something had shifted. He was done hiding, done pretending. The question was whether the world and his company would let them be together. Friday afternoon, Callum needed files from the secure storage room in the basement. He asked Bianca to accompany him, ostensibly to help carry documents, but his eyes promised something more. The elevator ride down was torture. They were alone in the small space, the tension thick enough to cut. He stood behind her, not touching, but she felt the heat of his body. When the elevator lurched slightly, his hand landed on her hip to steady her, and lingered. "You're killing me," he murmured against her ear, voice rough. "Standing this close without touching you properly is torture. We're at work." But she leaned back slightly into his warmth. "I know." His fingers tightened on her hip. "Doesn't make wanting you any less intense." The elevator doors opened, breaking the spell. The storage room was deserted, rows of shelves creating private corridors. They gathered files with forced professionalism, but awareness crackled between them. When they reached for the same folder, their hands collided. He didn't pull back, instead threading his fingers through hers. Bianca. Just her name, but loaded with everything he couldn't say here. She turned, found herself backed against the shelves, his body inches from hers. "We can't. Not here." "I know." But he didn't move away. His free hand came up, traced her jaw. "Tonight. Come to my place tonight. No more hiding, no more interruptions. Just us." "Callum, please." The vulnerability in the word broke her. "I need you. Not just Phoenix needing Nova, Callum needing Bianca, all of me needing all of you." She nodded, not trusting her voice. His forehead dropped to hers, relief evident in every line of his body. They stayed like that, not kissing but intimately connected, until footsteps echoed in the hallway. They sprang apart, gathered the files, returned to the elevator with professional distance. But everyone on the executive floor noticed the changed energy between them, the way he watched her, the way she bloomed under his attention. That evening, Bianca arrived at Callum's penthouse with overnight bag and racing heart. He opened the door, and something in his expression made her breath catch, intent, desire, but also tenderness. "Hi," he said simply. "Hi." They stood in the doorway for a long moment. Then he took her bag, set it inside, and pulled her in. The door closed behind her with finality. "I'm done pretending," he said, backing her against the door gently. "Done acting like you're just my secretary. Done separating Phoenix from Callum. I want you to know all of me, and I want to know all of you." His hands framed her face, and she saw complete honesty in his eyes. No more walls, no more carefully maintained distance, just raw want and deeper emotion. "Then show me," she whispered. "Show me who you really are." He kissed her slowly, thoroughly, a kiss that promised everything. His hands slid into her hair, tilting her head for better access, and she melted into him. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "Dinner first," he said with visible effort. "I want to do this right, not just fall into bed but actually court you, show you this means something." The old-fashioned word made her smile. "Court me? I want to do this properly. You deserve that." He took her hand, led her into his living space. "I made dinner. We'll eat, talk, and then—" His eyes darkened with promise. "Then I'm going to make love to you properly, without interruptions or emergency calls. I'm going to show you exactly how much you mean to me." The deliberate pace was both torture and perfect. They ate the meal he'd prepared, perfectly grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, wine that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The conversation flowed easily, naturally, covering everything from childhood memories to fears about the future. "I never thought I'd have this," he admitted over dessert. "After my divorce, after my father died, I convinced myself I was better alone, that relationships were distractions from responsibility. Then you showed up in my game, in my life, and suddenly alone felt suffocating." "What changed?" "You saw me, really saw me. Not the CEO, not the inheritance, not the reputation. Just me. The insomnia, the grief, the fear I'm not good enough. And you didn't run. You stayed, Of course I stayed. You're worth staying for, Callum. All of you. The brilliant CEO and the vulnerable man who games at 3 in the morning, the controlled leader and the person who panics that he's failing his father's legacy. I love all of it. The word, love, hung between them. She said it casually, but they both felt the weight. Say that again, he requested quietly. I love you, this time deliberate, certain. I'm in love with you, Phoenix, Callum, whoever you are at any given moment, all of it. He stood, pulling her up with him, and kissed her with desperate relief. I love you too. So much it terrifies me. He led her to his bedroom, a space she hadn't seen before. It was surprisingly personal. Photographs of his father, books stacked on the nightstand, the unmade bed suggesting he actually slept here sometimes. Human touches that made her heart ache. I want you in my bed, he said, voice rough. Want to wake up with you here, see you in my space, make this real. She answered by kissing him, pouring everything she felt into it. His hands found the zipper of her dress, sliding it down slowly while his mouth trailed kisses along her shoulder. The dress pooled at her feet, leaving her in delicate lace that made his breath catch. You're so beautiful. His hands worshipped her curves, relearning every line through the fabric. I've imagined this so many times, but reality is so much better. She unbuttoned his shirt, pushing it off his shoulders, mapping the lean muscle of his chest and arms. When her fingers traced the scar above his eyebrow, he captured her hand, kissed her palm. Every scar, every flaw, every vulnerable piece of me. It's all yours, he promised. They moved to the bed slowly, savoring each revelation. His hands slid her remaining clothing away while his mouth followed, tasting skin, learning what made her gasp. She arched into his touch, hands tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. I need you, she whispered when his mouth found the sensitive spot below her ear. Please, Callum, no more waiting. He rose above her, supporting his weight on his arms, eyes locked with hers. This changes everything. You understand that? After this, you're mine and I'm yours, completely. I'm already yours. Have been since the first night we talked. The confession broke the last of his control. He joined their bodies slowly, watching her face, ensuring she was with him every moment. The sensation of him completing her drew a sound from deep in her chest. He stilled, letting her adjust, his own control visibly fraying. Okay? He managed. Perfect. She wrapped her legs around him, pulling him deeper. You're perfect. They moved together, finding rhythm, the physical connection reflecting the emotional bond they'd built over months. His hands found hers, threading their fingers together, holding her gaze. Every movement spoke of devotion. I love you, he breathed against her lips. Love you so much. She couldn't form words anymore, could only feel the building pressure, the overwhelming intimacy, the rightness of being with him like this. When her release crashed over her, she cried out his name, clinging to him. He followed moments later, her name a prayer on his lips, his body shuddering with intensity. They collapsed together, breathing hard, bodies still joined. He rolled them carefully so she draped across his chest, his arms banded around her protectively. For long moments, neither spoke, both processing the magnitude of what just happened. Stay, he finally whispered into her hair. Not just tonight. Stay. She lifted her head to meet his eyes. What are you asking? Move in with me. I know it's fast, I know it complicates things at work, but I don't want to be apart from you anymore. I want to fall asleep with you and wake up with you. I want this, us, to be real in every way. The vulnerability in his expression made her heart ache. This powerful man, offering her everything, terrified she'll refuse. Yes, simple, certain. Yes, I'll stay. Relief transformed his features. He kissed her deeply, thoroughly, then pulled back with a slight smirk. Good, because I wasn't taking no for an answer. She laughed. He swatted his chest. Presumptuous. Certain. He nuzzled her neck. About you. About us. This is real, Bianca. The most real thing in my life. They made love again, slower this time, exploring thoroughly. He learned every sensitive spot, every touch that made her gasp. She discovered he was ticklish along his ribs, that he loved when she dragged her nails down his back, that he became almost worshipful when he was inside her. Afterward, wrapped in his sheets with his body curved around hers protectively, she felt completely at peace for the first time in months. His fingers traced lazy patterns on her hip while her hand rested over his heart. "What happens Monday?" she asked quietly. "At work?" "Monday, we figure it out together." He kissed her shoulder. "I'm not hiding this anymore. We'll need to be careful, professional and public, but I won't pretend you don't mean everything to me. The board can accept it or deal with my resignation." His voice was firm. "I won't lose you to protect my position. You're more important." The declaration should terrify her, the risks, the complications, the potential consequences. Instead, she felt only certainty. They'd face whatever comes together. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too." He tightened his arms around her. "Now sleep. You're staying in my bed from now on, which means I might actually get a full night's rest." She smiled against his chest. For the first time in months, neither needed gaming to quiet their minds. They had each other, and that was enough. Monday morning brought harsh reality. Bianca arrived at the office separately from Callum, both trying to maintain professionalism. But everything had changed. The intimacy they shared over the weekend colored every interaction. Chastity noticed immediately. When Bianca brought coffee to Callum's office, his hand lingered on hers during the transfer. When they discussed schedules, he stood too close, his attention too focused. When she left the room, his gaze followed. "You need to be more careful," Chastity warned during lunch. "I'm not the only one who notices how he looks at you now." "We haven't done anything inappropriate at work," Bianca defended. "Honey, the way that man looks at you is extremely appropriate for a bedroom and completely inappropriate for an office." Chastity's tone was gentle but firm. "I'm not judging. Lord knows that boy deserves happiness, but the board is watching him closely, Carolina Mueller especially. She's been trying to catch him in any misstep since he took over." The warning settled like lead in Bianca's stomach. She knew there would be complications, but hearing it stated so bluntly made it real. That afternoon, Owen cornered her in the break room. "So, you and Cal?" His tone was friendly, curious rather than accusatory. "I don't know what you mean." "Please, I've known him my whole life. I've never seen him like this. Distracted, happy, almost human. That's you." Owen leaned against the counter. "Look, I think it's great. He's been a robot since Uncle Richard died. But you need to know what you're getting into. The board sees him as too young, too emotional. They're looking for excuses to replace him with someone older, more stable. A relationship with his secretary gives them ammunition." "We're not—" She stopped, unsure what they were publicly. "Whatever you are, be smart about it. I'd hate to see either of you hurt because of office politics." The conversation haunted Bianca all afternoon. She and Callum needed to talk, establish boundaries, figure out how to navigate their relationship without destroying both their careers. That evening, back at his penthouse, she raised her concerns. Callum listened, his expression darkening. "I won't hide you," he said firmly. "I won't pretend you're just my secretary when you're so much more. I'm not asking you to hide me. I'm asking you to be smart. Your company is just a company. You're my life." The declaration was romantic but impractical. "Callum, if the board forces you out because of me, you'll resent me eventually." "Never." He pulled her close. "I could lose the company and survive. I can't lose you. You might not have a choice if we're not careful." Tuesday brought their first real fight. Callum scheduled a board dinner and didn't invite Bianca. She discovered this when Chastity mentioned it while discussing schedules. "Why am I not attending the board dinner?" Bianca asked when they were alone in his office. "Because you're not a board member or executive." His tone was dismissive, clearly not seeing the issue. "I'm your secretary. I attend all your business dinners to take notes and manage logistics. This is different." He wouldn't meet her eyes. Understanding crashed over her. "You're hiding me. You said you wouldn't, but that's exactly what you're doing. I'm protecting you by excluding me from my job responsibilities." Anger ignited. "You don't get to decide what I need protection from, Callum. That's not how this works. The board will ask questions if you're there. They'll assume. Let them assume. I earned my position. I'm good at my job. Why should I hide because we're together? Because I won't let them use you to undermine me." His control finally cracked. "Don't you understand? Carolina is circling, waiting for any excuse. If she realizes we're involved, she'll make your life miserable. She'll question every decision I make, claim you're influencing me inappropriately, suggest you slept your way into this position. So you'd rather just exclude me, make me invisible? They were standing now, facing off across his desk, both breathing hard. The anger was real, but so was the fear beneath it. Chapter 3. I don't know how to do this, he admitted, voice raw. How to love you and protect you and run this company all at once. Something has to give, and I won't let it be you. It won't be the company either. She moved around the desk into his space. We figure this out together, Callum, but you can't make unilateral decisions about my career to protect me. That's not partnership. He pulled her against him roughly, desperately. I'm terrified of losing you, of the board finding out and making you leave, of having to choose between you and everything my father built. You won't have to choose if we're smart. She softened against him, but smart means including me in decisions, not hiding me away like I'm something shameful. You're the opposite of shameful. You're everything. He kissed her hard, almost punishing. You're everything, and that terrifies me. The kiss turned desperate, angry, passionate. They broke apart, breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. The fight wasn't resolved, but they'd acknowledged the real issue, fear. Fear of loss, fear of judgment, fear that their love isn't strong enough to survive reality. I'll bring you to the dinner, he conceded. But we maintain professional distance. No touching, no long glances, nothing that gives them ammunition. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. They were learning to navigate impossible situations together. Wednesday afternoon, building maintenance required fumigation of Callum's office. He was forced to work from the executive conference room, which Bianca also used for the day since her desk was inaccessible. They were alone in the conference room for hours, working on opposite ends of the long table. Every glance felt loaded. Every accidental meeting of eyes sent heat through both of them. The forced proximity while maintaining professional distance was exquisite torture. Around 3 p.m, they both reached for the same document in the center of the table. Their hands collided and electricity shot through the contact. Callum's fingers closed over hers briefly before he released her. Sorry, he murmured, but his eyes said he wasn't sorry at all. The tension ratcheted higher. Bianca tried to focus on work, but she was hyper-aware of him, the way he drummed his fingers when thinking, the small frown line between his brows when concentrating, the muscle that flexed in his jaw when frustrated. He rose to retrieve something from the credenza behind her. As he reached past her shoulder, his body brushed against her back. The contact was brief but electric. His breath warmed her neck as he murmured, "Excuse me." She was certain it was deliberate, certain he was testing boundaries, seeing how much they could handle before professionalism shattered entirely. When he returned to his seat, their eyes locked across the table. The air crackled with everything they couldn't do, couldn't say, can't act on while at work. His gaze dropped to her mouth, and she saw his control fraying. "This is torture," he said quietly. "Yes. Tonight, my place. The second we leave this office. Yes." The promise hung between them for the rest of the afternoon. When Chastity popped in with a question, they both jumped guiltily, proving they weren't thinking purely professional thoughts. That night, they barely made it through his penthouse door before coming together frantically. Days of restrained tension exploded into passionate connection, desperate kisses, frantic touching, clothes discarded hastily. They made love against the door, then again more slowly in his bed, then once more in the shower. "We can't keep doing this," Bianca gasped between kisses under the hot water. "The tension at work is going to give us away." "I know," he pulled her closer. "But I can't stop wanting you, can't turn it off just because we're in the office." It was a problem without easy solution, one that would only intensify as time passed. Thursday morning, Carolina Mueller requested a meeting with Bianca, ostensibly to discuss Callum's schedule for an upcoming investor conference. But the moment they were alone in the small conference room, Carolina's friendly mask dropped. "How long have you been sleeping with him?" Direct, no pretense. Bianca's heart hammered, but she kept her expression neutral. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Please. I've been watching Callum Rhodes for 2 years, waiting for an opening. Then you show up and suddenly he's different, distracted, human." Carolina's smile was sharp. "He looks at you like you're the only person in the room. That's not how a CEO should look at his secretary." Mr. Rhodes treats me professionally. Does he? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like preferential treatment. You've been here 3 months and already have access most assistants take years to earn. You attend executive meetings, weigh in on strategy, accompany him to private dinners. Carolina leaned forward. That's not normal for a secretary, no matter how competent. My job responsibilities are whatever he decides they are, which is the problem. Carolina's voice hardened. The board is concerned about his judgment. He's young, emotional, still grieving his father. If he's making business decisions based on personal feelings rather than logic, that's a problem. And you, Miss Laurent, are a very personal feeling. The threat was clear. Bianca fought to keep her voice steady. I've done nothing improper. My work speaks for itself. Your work is excellent. I've reviewed it thoroughly. The admission surprised Bianca. You're talented, educated, capable. Under any other circumstances, I'd be championing your advancement. But as long as you're in Callum's bed, every accomplishment will be questioned. Every promotion will look like payback for personal services. You'll never be taken seriously. The words hit like physical blows because they were partially true. Bianca had feared exactly this, being reduced to the secretary sleeping with the boss regardless of her actual competence. What do you want? Bianca asked quietly. I want to know if you're serious about him or just using him for career advancement. Carolina's gaze was assessing. If you actually care about Callum, you'll understand that this relationship jeopardizes everything he's worked for. The board meets next month to review his leadership. If they have any reason to question his judgment, they'll remove him. Exactly. Carolina sat back, satisfied. So you have a choice, Miss Laurent. End it now, quietly, and I'll ensure your reputation remains intact. Or continue this affair and watch both your careers implode when the board finds out, and they will find out. I'll make certain of it. The ultimatum hung in the air. Carolina stood, smoothing her skirt. Think about it. You have until the board meeting to decide. For both your sakes, choose wisely. After Carolina left, Bianca sat alone, shaking. The threat was real. Carolina had power, connections, the board's ear. She could destroy. Both of them. That evening, Bianca told Callum everything. His reaction was immediate rage. She threatened you? He paced his penthouse, fury radiating from every line of his body. She has no right. She has every right. She's a board member, and she's not wrong. Bianca's voice was heavy. We've been reckless, Callum, thinking love is enough when there's an entire corporate structure ready to crush us. So what? We just give up? Let Carolina and the board dictate our personal lives? I don't know. The stress broke through her control. I don't know how to be with you without risking everything we've both worked for. Maybe Carolina is right. Maybe we should end this before. Don't. He crossed to her, gripped her shoulders. Don't you dare suggest we end this. I love you. That's not negotiable. Love might not be enough. Then we make it enough. His intensity was almost frightening. I'll resign if I have to. Walk away from the company and we'll start over somewhere else. You can't do that. Your father would want me to be happy, would want me to choose love over duty. His voice cracked slightly. He didn't, and it destroyed him. I won't make the same mistake. The declaration was romantic but impractical. Walking away meant abandoning his father's legacy, the company that's been his whole identity. Bianca couldn't ask that of him. Wouldn't. We need time to think, she said carefully, to figure out the smart play. The smart play is staying together and fighting for it. But Bianca wasn't sure anymore. The weight of potential consequences was crushing. That night, sleeping in Callum's arms, she lay awake wondering if loving him means letting him go. Friday, stress and lack of sleep caught up with Callum. By afternoon, he was running a fever, clearly fighting off illness but refusing to admit weakness. Bianca watched him power through meetings, his face increasingly pale, his movements sluggish. You need to go home, she told him after the last meeting ended. I'm fine. You're burning up. She pressed her hand to his forehead without thinking, then realized her mistake. They're in his office, glass walls making them visible, but she didn't pull away. Callum, you're sick, go home. Can't, too much work. He swayed slightly and she caught his arm. Conference room, now. She used her no-nonsense tone, the one that brooks no argument. He was too exhausted to fight, letting her guide him to the private conference room adjacent to his office. She made him lie on the leather couch, loosened his tie, brought water and medicine from her desk. The caretaking felt intimate despite being fully clothed and professional. When she placed a cool cloth on his forehead, he caught her wrist. "You don't have to do this," he murmured, eyes closed. "Yes, I do." She sat beside the couch, her hand still caught in his. "You take care of everyone else. Someone needs to take care of you. That's what I have you for." The words were slightly slurred with exhaustion. Taking care of me. Her heart clenched. Sleep. I'll handle everything this afternoon. He didn't release her wrist, so she stayed, working one-handed on her tablet while he rested. Occasionally she stroked his hair, a tender gesture she couldn't resist. He leaned into the touch unconsciously, his breathing evening out into sleep. Chastity found them like that an hour later, Callum asleep on the couch, Bianca sitting beside him, their hands linked. The older woman's expression softened. "That boy hasn't let anyone take care of him since his father died," Chastity said quietly. "It's good he has you." "I don't know how much longer I can be what he needs," Bianca admitted, voice breaking slightly. "Carolina threatened us today, the board meeting." "I know, I heard." Chastity sat on Callum's other side. "Carolina's been circling for years. She wants power, and she sees Callum as an obstacle. You're just her current weapon." "What do I do?" "You love him. That's what you do." Chastity patted her hand. "The rest will work out, or it won't. But you don't give up on love because it's complicated. You fight for it." "What if fighting hurts him more? What if not fighting destroys you both?" The question haunted Bianca. When Callum woke an hour later, slightly less feverish, he found her still sitting beside him. His fingers tightened around hers. "Don't leave," he murmured, still half asleep. "Promise you won't leave." She couldn't make that promise, not with the board meeting looming, Carolina's threats hanging over them, and the very real possibility that staying together will destroy them both. But she didn't say that. Instead, she leaned down and kissed his forehead gently. "Rest. We'll figure everything out later." But later was coming faster than either of them was ready for. That weekend, Bianca retreated to her old apartment to think. She hasn't officially moved out yet. Most of her things are still there, though she spent every night at Callum's penthouse for 2 weeks. Kate found her Saturday morning staring at her laptop, Carolina's threat playing on repeat in her mind. "Talk to me," Kate demanded, setting down coffee. Bianca explained everything: Carolina's ultimatum, the board meeting, the impossible choice between love and career. Kate listened without interrupting, then delivered her assessment with characteristic bluntness. "So you're considering breaking up with the man you love because some bitter board member threatened you? It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple. You love him. He loves you. Everything else is just noise. Noise that could destroy both our careers. Or you could fight. Together." Kate gripped her hand. "Bianca, I've known you since college. I watched you fight for everything. Your education, your position, respect in rooms full of people who underestimated you. When did you become someone who backs down from a fight? When the fight puts someone I love at risk. He's an adult. He gets to decide what risks he's willing to take." Kate's voice softened. "Don't make decisions for him. Don't be the person who walks away to protect him. Be the person who stands beside him and fights." The advice resonated, but fear still gripped Bianca's heart. Sunday afternoon, Deshawn visited, and she explained the situation to him too. His response was simpler. "Sis, does he make you happy?" "Yes, incredibly happy." "Does he treat you right? Respect you?" "Always." "Then forget Carolina Muller and the board. You deserve happiness. Fight for it." But that evening, alone again, Bianca wondered if fighting is selfish, if real love means sacrifice, if protecting Callum from the fallout means stepping back, even though it breaks her heart. She didn't return to his penthouse Sunday night. Instead, she sent a text. "Need space to think. See you Monday at work." His response came immediately. "Don't do this. Don't pull away. We face this together." But she didn't respond. Couldn't, when she doesn't know what the right answer is. Have you ever faced an impossible choice between love and everything you've worked for? How did you decide? Tell me in the comments what you think Bianca should do. Let me know where you're watching from, and subscribe if you're invested in finding out whether love can really conquer all. Monday morning, Bianca arrived early, steeling herself for difficulty. Callum was already in his office, looking like he hadn't slept. When she entered with his coffee, his relief was palpable. "You came back." His voice was rough with emotion. "I work here." "That's not what I meant." He rounded his desk, reaching for her. "You stayed away all weekend. I thought—" "We need boundaries," she interrupted, stepping back. "Professional distance. No more staying at your place every night. No more lingering touches at work. We give Carolina no ammunition for the board meeting." His face hardened. "You're pulling away." "I'm being smart. One of us has to be. Smart would be standing together. Smart is protecting your company." Her control broke. "Don't you understand? If the board removes you, it destroys everything your father built. I won't be responsible for that." "You're not responsible for the board's prejudices." He moved closer, intense. "Bianca, I don't care about the company if it costs me you—" "Well, I care." Tears threatened, but she blinked them back. "I care that you'll resent me eventually if you lose everything because of me. I care that every accomplishment I have will be questioned. I care that we're not strong enough to survive this." The words hung between them, her deepest fear finally voiced. Not that they don't love each other, but that love isn't enough against institutional power and social judgment. "You think we're not strong enough?" His voice was dangerously quiet. "I think we're setting ourselves up for heartbreak. Then your heart must not be as invested as mine." The accusation was unfair, and they both knew it. "Because I'd rather have heartbreak with you than safety without you." "That's not fair. None of this is fair." His composure finally shattered. "Loving you isn't fair. It's consuming and terrifying and the only thing that makes sense in my entire life. And you want to walk away because it's complicated?" "I want to protect you." "I don't need protection. I need you. Fighting beside me, not retreating to keep me safe." He gripped her shoulders gently. "We face the board together. Whatever they decide, we face it together. That's what love means, Bianca. Not sacrificing yourself, but standing together." She wanted to believe him, wanted to think love is enough. But years of fighting for respect, of proving herself in spaces that didn't welcome her, have taught her that sometimes love isn't enough against systemic power. "I don't know if I'm strong enough for this fight," she admitted quietly. "You're the strongest person I know." He pulled her close, despite her protests about boundaries. "You've fought your whole life. Don't stop now, not when we're fighting for us." The embrace broke something open in her chest, fear and hope warring. She clung to him, breathing in his scent, trying to draw strength from his certainty. A knock on the door forced them apart. Chastity entered, expression grave. "The board meeting has been moved up tomorrow afternoon. Carolina called an emergency session." She looked between them. "Whatever you're planning to do, you need to decide now." That afternoon, Owen cornered Bianca in the executive kitchen. His usual casual demeanor was gone, replaced by serious concern. "Carolina's making her move tomorrow. I heard her on the phone with board members this morning." He kept his voice low. "She's telling them Callum is emotionally compromised, making decisions based on personal relationships rather than business logic. She's using you as Exhibit A." Bianca's stomach dropped. "What kind of decisions?" "The Meridian deal. She's claiming Cal only pursued it because you recommended it." Owen ran a hand through his hair. "The deal's been hugely profitable, but she's twisting it, saying he's giving you inappropriate influence over major business decisions." "That's not true. The Meridian deal was solid strategy. I know that, you know that, but Carolina's spinning it as proof he's thinking with his heart instead of his head." Owen gripped her arm gently. "Bianca, they're going to force him to choose tomorrow, you or the CEO position. I've seen this play before. My uncle, Cal's dad, faced something similar years ago. He chose the company. It destroyed him." "What happened?" "He was in love with someone the board deemed inappropriate, a woman from a different background, someone they thought would damage the company image. They made him choose. He chose Rhodes Global." Owen's expression was pained. "And he spent the rest of his life regretting it, became cold, distant, married someone appropriate who made him miserable." Cal grew up watching his father slowly die inside. The story hit Bianca like a physical blow. She understood now why Callum is so desperate to choose differently. He watched his father make the smart choice and saw it destroy him. "What should I do?" "Fight." Owen's voice was fierce. "Don't let them win. Don't let Carolina bully you into leaving. Cal's different when he's with you. Happy, human, actually living instead of just existing. If you walk away to protect him, you'll be doing exactly what his father's love did, abandoning him when he needs you most. But if staying costs him everything, then at least he'll have you. And trust me, that's worth more than any company." Owen squeezed her shoulder. "Besides, you're underestimating him. Cal's brilliant. If anyone can outmaneuver Carolina, it's him. But he can't do it alone. He needs you believing in him, fighting beside him." The conversation shifted something in Bianca's perspective. She's been so focused on protecting Callum from consequences that she hasn't considered what her absence would cost him emotionally. Hasn't trusted him to fight his own battles, make his own choices. That evening, she went to his penthouse. He opened the door looking exhausted and weary. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "I've been so busy trying to protect you that I forgot to trust you, forgot that you get to make your own choices about what's worth fighting for." Relief flooded his features. He pulled her inside, holding her tightly. "I choose you. Always you. The board can accept that or replace me, but I won't choose differently. Then we fight together." She pulled back to meet his eyes. "Whatever tomorrow brings, we face it together." He kissed her deeply, desperately. Together. They spent the evening preparing, strategizing, gathering documentation of Bianca's contributions to prove her value extends beyond personal relationship. Callum pulled up reports, emails, meeting notes that demonstrate her strategic thinking, her insights that saved the company millions, her professional excellence that has nothing to do with their personal connection. "The Meridian deal was your idea," he said, compiling evidence. "Your analysis identified the opportunity before anyone else saw it. That's not me giving you inappropriate influence. That's me recognizing talent." Bianca reviewed the materials, her confidence slowly rebuilding. She's been so focused on the relationship complication that she'd forgotten her actual competence. The evidence is undeniable. She's earned her position through merit, not romance. "What's your play for tomorrow?" she asked. "Honesty." His answer was simple but powerful. "I tell them the truth, that yes, we're in a relationship, but that doesn't compromise my judgment. It enhances it. You make me better at everything, including running this company. That's risky. So is lying. So is hiding." He took her hand. "I'm done with both. We go in tomorrow, acknowledge our relationship openly, and dare them to claim you're not the best secretary this company has ever had." The bold strategy terrified and thrilled her. No more hiding, no more pretending, just honest declaration and the challenge to judge them on results rather than assumptions. Chapter 4. Later that night, fear caught up with Bianca. She was in Callum's bedroom, supposedly getting ready for bed, but panic clawed at her chest. What if tomorrow is a disaster? What if the board forces him out and he resents her? What if loving her costs him everything? She reached for her phone when Callum appeared in the doorway. "You're spiraling," he observed quietly. "I can see it. I'm terrified." The admission came out broken. "Terrified of tomorrow. Terrified I'm not worth what this might cost you. Stop!" He crossed to her in 3 strides. "Stop questioning your worth. Stop trying to make decisions for me about what I can and can't handle. I just think maybe we should create distance before tomorrow. Give you deniability." "No." The word was absolute. "We've tried distance. We've tried pretending. I'm done with both. I need you tonight, Bianca. Need to hold you, be with you, remember what we're fighting for." "Callum." He silenced her with a kiss, not gentle, but claiming. Possessive. His hands framed her face as he kissed her deeply, thoroughly, pouring everything into it. When he pulled back, his eyes burned with intensity. "Don't push me away. Not tonight. Not when tomorrow might change everything." His voice roughened with emotion. "Let me love you. Let me show you what you mean to me." Her last resistance crumbled at the raw need in his voice. She pulled him close, kissing him with equal desperation. They made love with urgent intensity, both aware tomorrow might fracture everything, both needing this connection to sustain them through whatever comes. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, Bianca felt centered again, grounded. Whatever tomorrow brings, they'll face it together. That certainty has to be enough. "I love you," she whispered into the darkness. "I love you too." His arms tightened around her. "And tomorrow, everyone else will know it." Tuesday morning dawned cold and clear. Bianca dressed carefully in her most professional suit, armor for the battle ahead. Callum wore his sharpest business attire, every inch the powerful CEO. They arrived at the office separately, maintaining appearances until the board meeting. The morning dragged with agonizing slowness. Bianca caught glimpses of board members arriving, Carolina with a satisfied smirk, others looking serious and uncomfortable. Owen gave her a supportive nod. Chastity squeezed her hand briefly. "Whatever happens, you've got people on your side," Chastity murmured. At 2 in the afternoon, Callum emerged from his office. "The meeting is starting. I want you there." "Callum, I'm not a board member. You're my partner, in every sense that matters, and they're discussing you, so you deserve to be present." His tone left no room for argument. They walked to the boardroom together, and Bianca felt every eye tracking their movement. Inside, the board members sat around the massive conference table. Carolina occupied the head position opposite where Callum usually sits. A power play. "Miss Laurent," Carolina said with false sweetness, "how unexpected. This is a closed board meeting." "Miss Laurent stays," Callum declared, his voice leaving no room for debate. He guided Bianca to a chair beside his at the head of the table, a clear statement of her position. She's entitled to hear any accusations made against her character or competence. The board members shifted uncomfortably. Carolina's smile tightened. "Very well. Since Mr. Rhodes insists on transparency, let's be transparent." She opened a folder. "We're here to discuss concerns about the CEO's judgment and potential conflicts of interest stemming from an inappropriate relationship with his secretary." "There's nothing inappropriate about it," Callum interrupted calmly. "Miss Laurent and I are in a relationship. That's accurate. But nothing about our relationship is inappropriate or conflicts with business interests." Shocked murmurs rippled through the board. Several members leaned forward, interested. Carolina's expression hardened. She clearly expected denial, not open acknowledgement. "You're admitting to a relationship with a subordinate?" Carolina pressed. "That's a clear ethics violation." "There's no ethics violation. I've reviewed company policy thoroughly." Callum's tone was controlled, professional. "Rhodes Global has no policy prohibiting relationships between employees, including those in supervisor-subordinate relationships, provided both parties consent and the relationship doesn't interfere with job performance. Both conditions are met." "Job performance is exactly what we're questioning," Carolina countered. She pulled out documents. "The Meridian deal, a risky acquisition that Miss Laurent recommended, and you pursued despite reservations from experienced executives. That deal could have bankrupted us. That deal netted us $43 million in profit in the first quarter alone." Callum's response was sharp. "It was brilliant strategy, which is why I approved it. Not because Miss Laurent suggested it, but because her analysis was sound. Better than sound. Exceptional." He nodded to Bianca, who distributed folders to each board member. Inside was the documentation they compiled, her strategic analysis, her contributions to multiple successful deals, her insights that have repeatedly proven valuable. Miss Laurent has an MBA from a top-tier university, 5 years of corporate strategy experience, and has demonstrated exceptional analytical skills since joining Rhodes Global, Callum continued. "Her recommendations have consistently proven profitable. Dismissing her insights because of our personal relationship would be the actual poor judgment." Board members reviewed the materials, expressions thoughtful. Several nodded slowly, clearly impressed by the documented evidence. "This is exactly the problem," Carolina insisted, though her confidence was wavering. "You're so blinded by personal feelings that you can't see the impropriety." "I see clearly." Callum's voice cut through her objection. "I see a talented professional who's made significant contributions to this company. I see someone who's earned her position through merit, not favoritism. And yes, I see the woman I love. Those things aren't mutually exclusive." The open declaration silenced the room. Bianca's heart hammered, but she sat straight, meeting the board members' gazes directly. showing no shame, no apology for existing in both roles. My father, Callum continued, voice roughening slightly, spent his entire life prioritizing this company over personal happiness. He made the appropriate choices, maintained the proper distance, sacrificed love for business. And it destroyed him. He paused, letting that sink in. I watched him become a shell of himself, going through motions without joy, without passion, without anything that made life worth living. When he died, his last words to me were, "Don't make my mistakes." This, he gestured between himself and Bianca, is me not making his mistakes. The emotional honesty shifted something in the room. Several board members looked uncomfortable, possibly remembering Richard Rhodes's later years, his evident unhappiness. "That's a touching story," Carolina said, though her voice lacked earlier conviction. "But sentiment doesn't run companies. Logic does. Reason does." "And Miss Laurent enhances both my logic and reason," Callum interrupted. "She challenges my assumptions, questions my blind spots, makes me a better strategist and leader. That's not weakness, that's intelligence. Surrounding myself with people who make me better." An older board member, Gerald Whitmore, spoke for the first time. "Mr. Rhodes, I knew your father for 30 years, served on this board under his leadership." His voice was measured, thoughtful. "Richard was brilliant but rigid. He made decisions in isolation, refused input from people he deemed too close. It made him effective but cold. Effective but alone." Gerald looked at Bianca, then back to Callum. "You're suggesting a different leadership model, one that values emotional intelligence alongside business acumen." "I'm suggesting that the two aren't opposites," Callum responded. "That being connected to people, really connected, makes me better at understanding what drives markets, what motivates employees, what builds lasting success. Miss Laurent doesn't compromise my judgment, she sharpens it." "By sleeping with you?" Carolina's crude interjection drew sharp looks from other board members. "Let's not dress this up with pretty language. She's your lover, which means she has inappropriate influence over your decisions." "She has exactly the influence she's earned through competence." Callum's tone hardened. "Miss Muller, I notice you haven't actually challenged any of Miss Laurent's strategic recommendations on merit. You've only questioned them based on our relationship. That suggests the problem isn't her influence. It's your discomfort with the relationship itself." Carolina's face flushed with anger. "The problem is that you're thinking with your—" "Careful," Callum warned, voice dropping dangerously. "Finish that sentence and I'll have grounds for a harassment claim on Miss Laurent's behalf." The threat hung in the air. Carolina snapped her mouth shut, fury radiating from her. Another board member, Elizabeth Chen, leaned forward. "I've reviewed Miss Laurent's work. It's exceptional. The Meridian deal alone demonstrates strategic thinking beyond her years and experience level. If she were a man in this position, would we be having this conversation?" The question shifted the room's energy. Several board members looked uncomfortable, perhaps recognizing the gender and racial dynamics at play. Bianca has been judged not just for her relationship with Callum, but for being a black woman in a space that typically excludes her. "This isn't about gender or race," Carolina began. "Isn't it?" Elizabeth challenged. "Because I notice you didn't question Robert Harris when he started dating his assistant 3 years ago. Didn't call for an ethics review when David Martinez married his former secretary. So why is Miss Laurent different?" The pointed question created uncomfortable silence. The double standard was now impossible to ignore. Other executives have had relationships with subordinates without board intervention. The targeting of Bianca suggests bias, not principle. Callum seized the moment. "I'm not asking the board to approve of my personal choices. I'm asking you to judge my leadership on results. Rhodes Global has had its most profitable quarter in 5 years under my leadership. Employee satisfaction is up. We've secured 3 major deals that position us for long-term growth. Those are facts. My relationship with Miss Laurent doesn't change them." Gerald Whitmore nodded slowly. "The boy has a point. We've been so focused on propriety that we've ignored performance, and the performance is undeniably strong." "Because he's giving away company secrets to his girlfriend," Carolina's desperation was showing. "Because he's making emotional decisions—" "Show me one," Callum challenged. "Show me one business decision I've made that wasn't strategically sound, one deal that failed, 1/4 with declining profits. You can't because they don't exist. This entire review is based on speculation about what might happen, not evidence of actual poor judgment. The logic was irrefutable. Several board members nodded agreement. Carolina looked around the table, realizing she was losing support. "We need to vote," she demanded, "on whether Mr. Rhodes's relationship represents a conflict of interest requiring board intervention." "Fine," Gerald said. "Let's vote. All in favor of finding a conflict of interest?" Carolina's hand shot up. 2 other members, clearly her allies, raised hands more slowly. But the majority of the board kept hands down. The vote was clear. No conflict of interest found. Carolina's expression turned venomous. "This is a mistake. When this relationship implodes and takes the company with it, then we'll address it then," Gerald interrupted firmly. "Based on actual evidence, not prejudice, this meeting is adjourned." The board members filed out, several offering Callum nods of support. Elizabeth Chen paused beside Bianca. "You've got guts," she said quietly, "and talent. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong here." She glanced at Callum. "Either of you." When the room finally emptied except for Callum and Bianca, the tension that had been holding them rigid suddenly released. Bianca sagged into her chair, adrenaline crash hitting hard. "We did it," she whispered. "We actually did it." Callum pulled her up into his arms, holding her tightly. "You did it," standing there, unflinching, while they questioned everything about you. "You were magnificent." "We were magnificent," she corrected. "Together." That evening, Rhodes Global hosted its annual investor gala, a black tie event Callum couldn't skip despite emotional exhaustion. Bianca attended as his secretary, which now carried different weight. Everyone at the gala knew about the board meeting, knew about their relationship. The whispers followed them through the ballroom. Bianca wore a stunning gown, deep forest green that made her skin glow, and Callum could barely keep his eyes off her. But they maintained careful distance, professional demeanor. She took notes, managed his schedule, performed her duties flawlessly while looking breathtaking. The restraint was torture. Every time she brushed past him, he caught her scent and had to resist pulling her close. Every time their eyes met across the room, heat flared between them. They were allowed to be together now, but circumstances still demanded distance. Carolina made an appearance, shooting them venomous glares before leaving early. Other executives offered cautious congratulations, curious about how this unprecedented situation will unfold. Owen stuck close, running interference when conversations became too pointed. Around 10 in the evening, Bianca needed files from Callum's office. He followed under the pretense of needing something himself. The moment the office door closed behind them, cutting off the gala noise, the tension exploded. He backed her against his desk, hands framing her face, kissing her with desperate hunger. She responded instantly, arms wrapping around his neck, pulling him closer. Days of restraint, hours of maintaining professional distance while wanting each other, it all poured into the kiss. "We can't," she gasped between kisses. "Someone could see." "Don't care." His mouth moved to her neck, finding the sensitive spot that makes her gasp. "Need you. Needed you all day, watching you be so strong, so perfect." His hands slid up her sides, mapping curves hidden by the elegant gown. She arched into his touch, fingers threading through his hair. The kiss turned desperate, frantic, both of them lost in sensation. A burst of laughter from the hallway, people passing nearby, forced them apart. They stood breathing hard, adjusting disheveled clothing. His eyes were dark with want, her lips swollen from kissing. "Tonight," he promised roughly, "the second this gala ends, I'm taking you home and not letting you leave my bed for 24 hours. We have work tomorrow. I'm the CEO. I'll give us both the day off." He straightened her dress strap tenderly, the gentle gesture at odds with the heat in his eyes. "Tonight, no more restraint, no more pretending, just us." The promise sustained them through the rest of the evening. They returned to the gala separately, maintaining appearances, but everyone could see the changed energy between them, the way he watches her, the way she blooms under his attention. It's obvious and beautiful, and exactly what they both needed, to stop hiding, stop apologizing for loving each other. When the gala finally ends, they leave together openly for the first time. His hand at the small of her back, guiding her to his car, is a public claim. They've survived the crisis. Now they get to reap the rewards. They barely make it through Callum's penthouse door before coming together frantically. Clothes are shed hastily, hands and mouths desperate after hours of restraint. They make love against the door, then stumble to the bedroom for slower, deeper connection. Finally, wrapped in tangled sheets, bodies cooling, they allow themselves to process what happened. "I can't believe we won," Bianca whispers against his chest. "We didn't just win the board vote." Callum's fingers trace patterns on her bare shoulder. "We won the right to be ourselves, both of us. No more hiding, no more compartmentalizing." The freedom in that statement settles over them both. For months they've been fragments, Phoenix and Nova online, Callum and Bianca at work, lovers in private. Now they can simply be themselves, fully integrated in all spaces. "What happens now?" she asks. "Now we live." Simple words, profound meaning. We work together, love each other, build something real. No more drama, no more hiding. Just life. The promise of normalcy after months of crisis feels almost anticlimactic, but it's exactly what they both need. The chance to be together without constant threat, without perpetual crisis. They sleep late, order breakfast in, spend the day in bed talking and loving and simply being together. It's the first time they've had this, unrushed intimacy without crisis looming. The peace is intoxicating. Deshawn texts congratulations. Kate sends celebratory emojis. Owen leaves a voice message. "Knew you two would figure it out. Dinner this weekend to celebrate." Even Chastity emails. "Proud of you both. The company needs leaders who understand that strength and love aren't opposites." The support wraps around them, validating their choice to fight rather than surrender. Wednesday morning, they return to Rhodes Global together, arriving in the same car, walking through the lobby side by side. The statement is clear. They're together, and they're not hiding it. The office reacts with mixed responses. Some employees offer congratulations, others whisper and speculate. A few seem genuinely happy for them. The attention is uncomfortable but manageable because they're facing it together. Chastity has rearranged the executive floor slightly. Bianca's desk now has a better view, improved equipment, subtle acknowledgement of her elevated status. Not as Callum's girlfriend, but as a valued professional who's proven her worth. "The board wanted me to tell you," Chastity says during their morning coffee, "that they're creating a new position, Executive Strategic Advisor. It's yours if you want it. Comes with significant salary increase, your own office, direct input on major decisions. They want to formalize your contributions." Bianca is stunned. "They're promoting me?" "They're recognizing talent," Chastity smiles. "Gerald Whitmore pushed for it. Said keeping you as secretary was wasting your potential. This way, your relationship with Callum can't be questioned. You'll be a fellow executive, not a subordinate." The solution is elegant. It addresses the power dynamic concern while acknowledging Bianca's actual value. She accepts immediately, and the announcement goes out that afternoon. Carolina, notably, is absent from the office. Rumor suggests she's considering resigning from the board. Her gambit failed spectacularly. Instead of destroying Callum, she exposed her own biases and lost credibility. Owen pops into Callum's office mid-afternoon, grinning. "Executive Strategic Advisor? That's fancy. Also entirely deserved. Your analysis on the Hartford merger saved us millions." "Thanks, Owen." Bianca is still processing the rapid elevation. "It feels surreal." "Get used to it. You're brilliant, Bianca. The only person who didn't see it was you." He glances between her and Callum, who's watching her with undisguised pride. "You two are going to be insufferable, aren't you? All happy and functional and making the rest of us look bad." "Absolutely," Callum confirms, not apologizing. "Get used to it." After Owen leaves, Callum crosses to where Bianca stands at the window, wraps his arms around her from behind. Executive Strategic Advisor has a nice ring to it. It's terrifying. More responsibility, more visibility, more opportunity to be exactly who you are, to use that brilliant mind without anyone questioning whether you earned your seat at the table. He kisses her temple. "You're going to be magnificent." His faith in her steadies the nervous flutter in her stomach. She leans back into his embrace, watching the city below. A year ago, she was struggling to find her place. Now she's found career success and love, both hard-won, both deeply satisfying. That weekend, Callum asks to meet Bianca's family properly. She's mentioned her father and Deshawn repeatedly, and he wants to know the people who shaped her. They drive to her father's house Saturday afternoon. Marcus Laurent opens the door, a distinguished man in his 60s with Bianca's eyes and warm smile. His assessment of Callum is thorough and slightly intimidating. "So you're the billionaire who's been keeping my daughter busy," Marcus says, shaking Callum's hand firmly. "Dad," Bianca warns, but she's smiling. "I'm the man who loves your daughter," Callum responds simply, "and who wants your permission to keep doing so." The old-fashioned approach clearly pleases Marcus. He nods approvingly. "Come in. Deshawn's setting up for gaming. He wants to see if you're as good as Bianca claims." The afternoon unfolds comfortably. Deshawn challenges Callum to the same game where Phoenix and Nova first met. They play cooperatively, and Callum's skill impresses Deshawn immediately. "You're Phoenix," Deshawn realizes, "the gaming partner she wouldn't shut up about. Man, that's wild." "That's one word for it," Callum agrees. Marcus watches the interaction thoughtfully. Later, while Bianca and Deshawn prepare dinner, Marcus pulls Callum aside. "My daughter's the strongest person I know," Marcus says quietly. "Had to be, growing up without her mother, facing a world that constantly underestimated her. She's fought for everything she has. I know. It's one of the things I love most about her." Then you understand she doesn't need rescuing, doesn't need someone to fight her battles or protect her from challenges. Marcus's gaze is penetrating. She needs a partner who stands beside her, not in front of her. "That's exactly what I intend to be." Callum meets his eyes directly. "I've watched her face down a hostile board, defend her competence against prejudice, refuse to compromise her worth. I'm not fool enough to think she needs me to protect her, but I want to be there while she conquers the world." Marcus smiles slowly. "Good answer. You'll do, Callum Rhodes. You'll do fine." The approval means more than Callum expected. This man raised Bianca, taught her strength, gave her the foundation to become who she is. His blessing matters. Over dinner, conversation flows easily. Deshawn shares embarrassing childhood stories about Bianca. Marcus talks about her mother, keeping her memory alive. Callum contributes stories about his own childhood, his complicated relationship with his parents, the loneliness of growing up in wealth. "Money doesn't buy happiness," Marcus observes, "but it sounds like you figured that out." "I have now." Callum reaches for Bianca's hand across the table. "Your daughter taught me." After dinner, the four of them game together, cooperative missions that require communication and trust. It's absurdly domestic and perfect. Callum fits into Bianca's family naturally, no pretense or performance required, just genuine connection. Driving home, Bianca is quiet. Callum glances over, concerned. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right." She blinks back happy tears. "My father likes you. Deshawn likes you. You fit." "Of course I fit. They're your family. Where you belong, I belong." The certainty in his voice makes her cry harder. Happy tears, relief tears, tears that come from finally having everything she wants. He pulls over, gathers her into his arms, lets her cry against his shoulder while murmuring reassurances. "I love you," she hiccups, "so much it's ridiculous." "I love you too, ridiculously, impossibly, completely." He kisses her forehead. "And when you're done crying, I'm taking you home and showing you exactly how much." She laughs through tears, and he wipes them away gently before driving them back to his penthouse. Their home now, officially, since she moved her remaining belongings in last week. 2 months later, Rhodes Global holds its quarterly board meeting. The meeting proceeds normally. Financial reports, strategic updates, routine business. Bianca attends as executive strategic advisor, contributing insights that the board now expects and values. Her position is secure, her competence unquestioned. As the meeting concludes, Callum stands. "One more item before we adjourn, a personal announcement." Board members exchange glances. Gerald Whitmore looks amused. Elizabeth Chen is smiling. Even former skeptics appear curious rather than hostile. The transformation in board dynamics is remarkable. 4 months ago, you questioned my judgment regarding my relationship with Bianca Laurent," Callum begins, his voice steady. "You worried it would compromise my leadership, distract from business, represent poor decision-making. I told you then that loving her made me better at everything, including running this company. I'd like to present evidence that I was right. He pulls up a presentation. Graphs showing Rhodes Global's performance over the past 4 months. Profits up 27%. Employee satisfaction at all-time highs. 3 major deals closed. Stock price climbing steadily. The results speak for themselves. This is what happens when I'm not trying to compartmentalize my life, Callum continues. When I'm integrated, whole, supported by someone who makes me better. Bianca has contributed strategic insights that have directly impacted our bottom line. But more than that, she's made me a better leader. More empathetic, more connected, more human. Several board members nod agreement. The evidence is irrefutable. So I want to thank you for not forcing me to choose between her and this position, for allowing me to have both. Callum pauses, then turns to face Bianca directly. And I want to ask her something I should have asked weeks ago. Bianca's breath catches as Callum moves toward her. Surely he's not. He drops to one knee beside her chair, pulling a small box from his pocket. The boardroom collectively gasps. This is completely unprecedented. A CEO proposing during a board meeting. But that's exactly Callum's point. No more separation between personal and professional. No more hiding the most important parts of himself. Bianca Laurent, he says, voice rough with emotion, you saw me when I was invisible. You knew me when I was just Phoenix, just a guy struggling with insomnia and loneliness. You loved Callum Rhodes before you knew he was a CEO, and you've loved the CEO even after seeing his flaws. You make me better. You make me whole. Tears stream down Bianca's face. Around the table, several board members are visibly moved. This is personal, raw, real in a way corporate life rarely allows. I want to spend my life gaming with you at 3 a.m. Want to solve business problems together and argue about strategy. Want to wake up beside you every day and fall asleep holding you every night. I want all of it. Phoenix and Nova, Callum and Bianca, every version of us that exists. He opens the box, revealing a stunning ring. Elegant, unique, perfect. Will you marry me? The boardroom is silent, everyone holding their breath. Bianca looks at Callum, this man who fought for her, who refused to hide their love, who's now proposing in the least conventional, most public way possible. It's perfectly him, perfectly them. Yes. The word comes out choked with tears. Yes, of course, yes. He slides the ring onto her finger, then stands, pulling her into his arms and kissing her thoroughly. The boardroom erupts in applause. Even board members who were skeptical months ago are clapping, smiling, clearly moved by the display. Gerald Whitmore stands, raising his water glass. To Callum and Bianca, may your partnership continue to benefit both your personal lives and this company. Congratulations. The board toasts them, and the formality finally breaks. Board members approach to congratulate them, examine the ring, share personal stories about their own relationships. Elizabeth Chen hugs Bianca tightly. You two are going to change what leadership looks like in this company, Elizabeth whispers. You're showing that being whole, being human, being in love doesn't make you weak, it makes you stronger. After the board disperses, Callum and Bianca stand alone in the boardroom. She stares at the ring on her finger, then at him. You proposed in a board meeting. I wanted everyone to know, no ambiguity. No question, you're not just my girlfriend or my colleague, you're going to be my wife, my partner in everything. He pulls her close. Too unconventional? It's perfect. She kisses him deeply. Completely perfect. 6 months later, Bianca and Callum marry in an intimate ceremony. Deshaun serves as best man. Kate as maid of honor. Marcus walks Bianca down the aisle with tears in his eyes. The wedding is small, just family and close friends, including Owen and Chastity and supportive board members like Gerald and Elizabeth. During his vows, Callum promises to always game with her at midnight, to value her strategic insights, to love every version of her that exists. Bianca promises to challenge his assumptions, to stand beside him in boardrooms and bedrooms, to be his partner in every sense of the word. Rhodes Global continues thriving under their joint influence. Bianca's strategic advising proves invaluable, and within a year, she's promoted again, Vice President of Strategic Planning. Her success inspires the company to recruit more diverse talent, to value different perspectives, to recognize that strength comes in many forms. Carolina Muller resigns from the board 6 months after the engagement, unable to stomach her defeat. Her departure creates space for younger, more progressive board members who embrace Callum and Bianca's leadership model. Most importantly, both Bianca and Callum sleep better now. The insomnia that brought them together has eased, replaced by contentment and security. They still game together sometimes, Phoenix and Nova returning to the virtual world that created their connection. But now it's recreation, not desperate escape from loneliness. So let me ask you, have you ever hidden parts of yourself because you feared judgment? Have you compromised your happiness to meet others' expectations? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you found the courage to be your complete self. Let me know where you're watching from, and if this story of love conquering institutional prejudice touched your heart, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I'll share another story about choosing authentic connection over easy conformity. Until then, remember, the right person will love every version of you, the professional and the vulnerable, the strong and the scared, the public face and the private truth. You deserve nothing less than someone who sees all of you and chooses to stay. Thank you for letting me share Bianca and Callum's journey with you.